the Kraken!
Oh no! I've got to break free!
From the heart of hell, I stab at thee!
Well, you son of a...
Nothing in the world can stop me now!
But it may be for the best because it allows me to discuss Datalore and then Brothers. And these two episodes really tie together in important ways because they relate to Data's origin and to the villainous lore. The episode takes us once again to the dark realms of Season 1 TNG, and what's more, it's the last episode that was ever to give Gene a writing credit. And you're going to see where that comes in later. It was a bit unwanted. The director wanted to do The Big Goodbye, but it got swapped so that he had to do this script, which he didn't like. And Brent Spiner, who had suggested changing the episode from having a romantic angle to an evil twin angle, didn't much care for the result either. But after some work, both managed to get things into a place where they felt it could work. And that's the product that we have for today, Datalore. It starts with them heading towards Omicron Theta, where Data was first discovered decades ago. But first, time for some stupid android tricks.
What are you doing?
Sneezing.
Have you got a cold?
A cold what?
It's a disease my mom says people used to get.
Yeah, people used to get smacked upside the head for being irritating, and I'm all for bringing it back right now. So, enough with the I'm a robot and I'm from the future shtick, okay?
How can you be practicing something like sneezing when we're arriving at your home planet for the first time?
I need to feel better.
Wesley!
Oh yeah, that's the stuff. Wesley's here because Picard wants to see Data, and just using the communicator would have meant we'd have skipped all this perfect opportunity to show Data wishes to be more human in the most annoying manner possible. But then it's Season 1. Annoying is really part of that overall season theme.
This must be an exciting time for you, Mr. Data. I'm tempted to lead the wait team myself, except that my first officer would object.
How would Starfleet judge me if I didn't?
And crushing smugness. That was another pillar for our show, wasn't it? So without Picard, the away team beams down to what was described as farmland by the crew that found Data, but it's now almost completely devoid of life, like T'Pol. It had been established that Data had the memories of all the colonists, but just information, not their experiences exactly, I guess. So they use what little info he has to track back to where he was discovered, lying here on this slab in the cave because, well, Jesus had already left.
This was very cleverly done to make this look like a natural hollow in the terrain here.
But my visor is telling me this is actually a Hollywood set. Sure enough, they trigger the secret door and head into an underground bunker, also devoid of all life. Data's memories tell him that Dr. Noonien Sung worked on him here, and they're shocked because Sung was a famous expert on robotics, and he was lauded by the public.
Until he tried to make Asimov's dream of a positronic brain come true.
But he did succeed at Asimov's dream of putting giant sideburns on Mount Rushmore. Well, let's see what's behind door number 1. Oh, dismembered body. Boo! Should have taken the porcelain dog. Data's amazed at another android. Obviously, the head is based on a cast of Spiner's face, and only his face. That mold that Data stuck up there earlier was probably the thing that they used. The upshot is that for some reason Dr. Sung decided he should take the ears off, but make sure the eyebrows are kept on there. Those are important. We wouldn't want to lose them. Data wants to bring it back to the ship to be assembled, but obviously such a decision is going to require considering the ramifications of possibly bringing a sapient being into the universe. A discussion of the profound responsibility... I'm just messing with ya. Yep, grab the duct tape and the soldering gun and let's get cracking on this thing.
Bringing it up here was the right thing to do, number 1. You were just saying, Data, that if your duplicate functions, it may answer a lot of questions.
Data, I am not talking about parenting. I am talking about the extraordinary consequences of creating a new life.
But despite this, they are somehow uncomfortable discussing Data as an android.
Does it appear to have, all your parts?
All but one. Tasha insisted on confiscating one of them for security purposes. Picard puts them all at ease by reminding them that they are all machines, just machines of a different type. He is electrochemical, Data is electronic, Riker is a collection of mice inside a human-shaped suit with a collection of pulleys and levers. Riker also shows some of the artwork that was pinned up, presumably done by children and posted by proud parents. Artwork of people running in terror away from some flying horror. This is fairly normal parenting, actually. When your child delivers you Lovecraftian imagery, it's like a cat bringing a dead bird. You still praise them for it. Well, about 3 minutes after Data left sickbay to come to this meeting, he's called away from this meeting to go back to sickbay. They need some help continuing with the assembly, and they figure he's a good bet for that. They could always check the manual, but, those things are always written up by IKEA, and all it does is tell you that you don't have the right size Allen wrench.
Press your fingers there, Doctor.
Oh, yes. Now rub my nipples. Not too hard, not too hard. Oh. Actually, that's his off switch.
If you had an off switch, Doctor, would you not keep it secret?
If only I'd kept it a secret, Wesley wouldn't be here. So after opening up and looking inside, they figure out how to put the other android together. Picard wonders which of them was made first.
He was. But they found him to be imperfect, and I was made to replace him.
Tasha does back that up, Data. In private, Picard and Data discuss Lore, that's his name, and that they are essentially identical. Picard's worried that Data's loyalty to Starfleet might be replaced with loyalty to his new kin, but Data assures him that he only has eyes for them. In fact, he seems to mildly disapprove of Lore when he finds him at his station, pretending to be ignorant of things, but tricked by Riker into revealing he knows Pythagoras. Oh, I can't believe he revealed that he knows middle school geometry. Man, what a mix-up! Data points it out on the way, and Lore's condescending praise of Wesley leads to...
A child! He has a child's body, but we have found him to be much more.
Ah, yes, wouldn't be a Gene Roddenberry script without everybody talking about how great Wesley is, huh? But let me praise what is working here. First, the effects. Rob Bowman didn't have any experience with this kind of thing, but the effects guys still managed very effective work on basically having two Brent Spiners on screen together. This shot in particular, the effect is flawless. And it also works out so well for the second reason, which is Brent Spiner. His lore is obviously evil, but there is more to him than that, which we're going to see even more of in Brothers. And Spiner easily shifts between the two characters, from having to walk up a corridor in time with his walk from the previous take when he was the other character. Now just imagine how complicated it was when he was playing a character trying to do an imitation of a different character which he also plays. Yeah. Data and Lore regard each other as brothers, and when Data looks up info on their father, Lore pokes fun at Dr. Sung, calling him often wrong. But it was only because Sung had kept making grandiose promises that he failed to live up to until he had traveled to Omicron Theta under an alias to try to cobble together something in the Sung Batcave. It seems that Lore has inherited that kind of thing from their father, his arrogance. I mean, they are both made to look like him after all. But Lore's comment is dismissive of his creator, that he was a genius by human standards. Now, Data had earlier remarked to Picard in discussing his nature as an android that he is superior to humans in many ways, a point he'd also said way back in Encounter at Farpoint. But while Data's statement is clinical fact, Lore builds upon that with his emotional qualities so that he is arrogant and ambitious. When Data calls him out on who was made first, Lore admits that he lied.
You lived with the colonists until they petitioned Sung to make a more comfortable, less perfect android.
Lore's arrogance is such that he even looks down on his brother. He is the pinnacle of sapient life in his view. Yet we'll see another side of this again when we get to Brothers.
Haven't you noticed how easily I handle human speech? I use their contractions. For example, I say can't or isn't, and you say cannot and is not.
I've been most anxious to hear the chief engineer's opinion, Mr. Argyle.
He tells Data that he can help him become more human, but for now Data's concern is with learning all they can about the colony and its fate. So he leaves Lore to write that up. But first, it's time to learn all there is from the Enterprise computers. For evil! And speaking of which, the fate of the colony is revealed. They were consumed by a giant space thingy that they dub a Crystalline Entity, which feeds by stripping planets of all life. The Crystalline Entity is rather typical of Gene's mindset. It's certainly different and speaks to the vast possibilities of alien life out there. I don't want to seem like I'm diminishing that. It's just that it seems like it hasn't passed the initial stage of creation, thinking through all the implications of its existence as a life form. It's like it's just here to serve as a plot device. But where does it come from? Is it natural or artificial? And if the former, how did its species come into existence? How does it procreate? How can its hunger be so great and not leave the galaxy devoid of all life, etc.? Now, you don't have to explain all that to us, but I really get the impression from Gene that he never gets past the basics of, it's from outer space and consumes all life. What more do you need to know? Now, while Silicon Avatar certainly has its problems, I applaud that they at least tried to look at the ramifications of such a creature existing, instead of the typical, well, who can know the marvels of the universe? Engage and make it so. Because it's not marvelous when you do this. You make the universe mundane. Because you treat it so unimportantly. Think about it for the moment. This creature is a Lovecraftian nightmare. It appears in the sky, and within hours, all life, everything, is dead. And it does this on one world after the next, with what Picard described as a ravenous hunger. And is not going to be discussed again? As far as Gene was concerned, the idea to do Silicon Avatar came from outside. Why are these people so obsessed over Ferengi and Romulans and Borg, who cannot equal the destructive potential of this creature? Why will they obsess over these other things when something is running around willy-nilly wiping things out? That's what I mean when I say you have to think this shit through. Now, I'm not reviewing Silicon Avatar today, so I'm not discussing the whole what should they have done with the creature thing. What I am saying, though, is the very implication of this thing is so huge that it really should have been thought out a great deal more before they put it into this episode in this form. Anyway, though, getting back to the episode, there's a discussion of what's going on with Lore and Data.
Speaking strictly as security chief, how much can you trust Data now?
I trust him completely, Lieutenant. But everyone should also realize that that was a necessary and legitimate security question.
Fair enough, I just don't know whether or not it was necessary to do it in front of so many people. Are you sure you could trust the robot now, sir? Because he's a robot. I mean, he'll be acting normal 1 minute, and then he'll be all just destroy all the humans, and he'll snack the neck of anybody who's nearby like a dry twig. You trust the potential android traitors and murderers, sir? You know, just wondering. Data's going to check on Lore to make sure he's not up to something, and given that Lore poisons him, you can see just how well he failed at that. Lore reveals to the unconscious Data that he betrayed the colonists to the Crystalline Entity, and now he'll do the same to the Enterprise because it'll be grateful. Man, you could imagine the benefits, huh? Maybe it'll give him the ability to fly around space on a surfboard. Lore's signal to the creature is assumed by the bridge crew to be Data. Probably nothing out of the ordinary, but just to be safe, we better look into it.
Would you look in on Commander Data, discreetly?
Yes, sir.
That little cracker's going to get himself killed. Lore switched places with Data, claiming that Lore had attacked him and so he had to turn him off, then follows it up with a facial tick. Wesley is suspicious, so Lore gives Data a tick and removes his own with his flashlight thing. Beverly's puzzled that Data would tell Wesley that he just turned Lore off since he wanted to keep his off switch a secret. Naturally, this is something Picard might need to know. But instead of talking to him about Data's suspicious behavior, she goes to the person that she thinks is Data acting strangely to ask about this strange behavior of his, because this is the point when the episode decides to make everybody who is not Wesley an imbecile. Well, let me revise that. Wesley is in many ways less of an imbecile than everybody else is this episode. Also, Geordi seems to think it's World War II.
Captain, I'm picking up a bogey coming in on a 5 o'clock tangent.
What the hell does he mean by that? An unidentified incoming sensor signal on a vector of 150 Mark 0, sir. Well, why the hell didn't he just speak plain English, then? It's the Crystalline Entity, and it catches up with them, much to Lore's pleasure. This is caught by Wesley while everybody else is trying to figure out this thing. The Entity is TNG's first computer-generated effect, and the first computer effect actually in all of Star Trek, besides the Genesis simulation from Wrath of Khan. Anyway, Picard wants Data to see if he can question Lore about this, but Wesley speaks up against Data, and everybody comes down on him like a ton of bricks, but unfortunately that's not literal, so we're going to have to watch the unsmushed Wesley for the rest of the episode. This exasperating combination of everyone's deliberate obtuseness and Wesley's irritating none of the grown-ups listen to me whining is only briefly interrupted by the entity trying to breach their shields. They're ready to blow it up, but Lore intervenes, saying that he can speak to the entity, addressing Riker by name, misunderstanding what "make it so" means. All of these are clues to Picard that something's not quite right. But first...
Sir, I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but...
Shut up, Wesley!
I don't care if Wesley's in the right and they'll all die stupid, horrible deaths. That should be as common as "make it so." Picard and security go to follow Data, and that includes Worf. And unfortunately, Lore anticipated this, setting up a trap for Worf, but leaving the other two security guards outside. Despite this, Lore still has enough time to get into a fight with Worf, head down to the cargo bay, have a conversation with the Crystalline Entity, have a long and drawn-out confrontation with Data, Wesley, and Beverly that includes...
Good. Back off.
You people are just sad. Welcome to the Federation flagship, where incompetence just runs deep. Security still hasn't arrived, and after all, it's not as if Lore has a comm badge on that tells you where he is, and even when he isn't wearing it, Tasha can still track him around. Nope, security still is not here yet, while Wesley and his mom have arrived even after swinging by Data's quarters to reactivate him, even though they both left at about the same time. There's a fight, and of course it's Wesley who saves the day, beaming Lore into space. Now that's the sign for security to now show up. Picard naturally has to wonder if this is indeed Data, but don't worry, it's not like he's going to use a contraction after the show made such a big point about that being a characteristic of Lore.
Yes, sir. I'm fine.
Let's get out of here. Post-episode follow-up, annoying character goes to Wesley. He acts like a child, and being a child, that's to be expected, but then maybe that should be a sign not to put a child in charge of keeping the ship running. We have an ancient Chinese secret, huh? For describing champagne toasting as ancient. Champagne is old, but the stuff we really think of isn't all that old, and it's only been a few centuries since it's been associated with celebration. The final score for Datalore is 4 out of 10. Now don't get me wrong, it's good amongst the dreck of Season 1 TNG, but compared to the series overall, it's still well below average, with multiple cringe-inducing scenes and the crew-wide Act 4 lobotomy.
But shut up, Wesley!